Hi everyone, I'm Waverley West. I'm a Texas private school media intern, and I'm here with Coach Cason Lovvorn, the head coach of the First Baptist Academy football team. Coach, how are you today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing great as well. Um, Coach Lovvorn's team went undefeated and won the TOPS Division 4 state championship this past year and just had an overall incredible season. Coach, what were some of the keys to y'all's championship this past year? If you would just detail some of that.
Yeah, I'd say, and I mentioned this, I think, when I talked to you guys the night of the state game, that one, obviously, we've got a ton of talent on our team and in the program. A lot of guys who make us look good as coaches. But one thing that they really, really bought in on, really going back to the previous year, was that yes, they have a ton of talent, but being disciplined, all in, and working as hard as they possibly could is what was going to be the difference. And they bought into that every single day, and we talked about that throughout the off season, and then every practice, no matter who the opponent was, just making sure that we focused on us and that we did not get in our way, because we felt like we had the talent to win any game on the schedule, but that it was going to be determined by the discipline that we had. So I love the way that they bought into that.
Yes, I think that's a great mentality. You mentioned buying in and development. There wasn't really many transfers or anything on y'all's team. Most of y'all's team has really grown up in the program and just has
Right.
really been with y'all for a long time. How did that contribute to y'all's state championship, and how did you get that to happen and really build up the program?
Yeah. So it was. We've got a really strong sophomore and junior group, and when that group was in middle school, they were undefeated and just had a ton of success. But a lot of that was they were more talented than anybody that they went up against. And so then to see them go in as freshmen, and a lot of them started when we went 5-6 last year, and it was 14-year-olds going up against 18-year-olds, and we told them, yeah, you guys are talented, but now you see the difference in middle school football going straight to varsity football. So that was tough, but they learned so many things that you don't learn playing pee wee football in middle school. You're not watching opponent game film. You're not going over scouting reports. You're relying on your ability, and then you get out there and you see what the other team does, and you make adjustments in the game. So they had to learn what it was like to prepare like a champion. And so going through a difficult year the previous year, where so many of them as freshmen and sophomores were out there, really just getting physically beat, made them realize, okay, we've got to get after it in the off season so that we gain a lot of weight. And a lot of our kids that started the year before were 20 pounds bigger the next year, from working really hard, and then understanding the approach and just the preparation that it takes to win was huge for them. So that was big. And then another thing that I mentioned, we talked about being disciplined, talk about working, but one thing that our guys really bought into, and I've talked to a lot of high school coaches about this, is I think you see in the transfer portal era, with colleges, that it's natural for people when times get tough to just say, oh, I think I'm going to just go somewhere else. And so we talked to them about that, because that has definitely trickled down to the high school level. No, if you're here and you really want to win a championship, then when we say we're all in, then we're not going to talk like that. We're not going to talk about, oh, I could go to a bigger school, I could go to a public school. If you're here and we're different, and we know that we're different the way that we do things, we're not like the local public school program. And we embrace that. We play Christian music in the weight room and at practice, and bad language is not tolerated. And we are about having a different culture at First Baptist Academy. And so I tell them, embrace that, be here and be all in. And they did that. So I think that was a huge reason for the success that we had too.
Yes, that's awesome. So, just talking a little bit more about y'all's team last year, Hunter Mccoy, huge part of y'all's offense, y'all's everything this year. What made him so good, and just like he had that it factor? Will you just talk about that for a little bit?
Yeah, I would say what made him so good. I keep going back to hard work. He's an example of hard work. He gets after it on his own. Quarterback development, physical development, and the preparation. He watched a ton of film. We would go over the scouting report. So he knew the other team inside and out, their personnel, their scheme, and all of that. But the funny thing with him is he needed to do that to be as good as he was. But a lot of what he's got, you just can't coach. And he just goes out there, and when the lights are on, he's a dominant player. And he's reading coverages, he's knowing what's going on, but so much of it is just his natural ability of just having a feel, having great pocket presence and pocket awareness, but then also understanding and seeing a defense rotate and then just getting the ball out so quickly. And then we had a great relationship as coach to quarterback where I had trust in him, and our offense is not easy to grasp. But when you do, and you've got an understanding, hey, you're the one out there playing. I'm calling plays, but if he sees something that he needs to change, he had free reign to change it. So I look like a good coach calling a quarterback keep. He ran for, I think, 2 to 3 touchdowns in the state championship game. A lot of those we're handing the ball off to Mark Rayson, who's a great running back. And Hunter sees something, and he knows he's got the freedom within our system to keep it based on certain things happening with the defense. So he's pulling it off to the races, and it looks like that was my call that we're going to call quarterback run game. No, that's Hunter just pulling the ball. And he's got checks within it. We have RPOs where he can pull it and throw it. And he would just do some stuff over and over where he'd come over and be like, why'd you do that? And he'd give the right answer every time. But he just knew he had freedom within our system to just ball out. And that's what he did.
Wow, that's just crazy to have such a quarterback like that. So another part of y'all's team this past year was y'all's receiver room. You have Alijah Cason, historic season. You have Caleb Mitchell, Dominic Sadu, and I know your coach, David Robinson, he had a lot to do with that. What was his contribution to the program and really just taking y'all's already incredible wide receiver room to the next level?
Yeah. So a lot of people talk about, like, man, we've got the best coaching staff in the state. This guy's the best here. I'm not exaggerating when I say D-Rob is the best in the world at training receivers. And ESPN will tell you that too. Like, he is the guru when it comes to working with receivers. And our guys get that every single day. And now I send them over to individual. They may be with individual receivers for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, it doesn't matter how long it is. When they come over, they are dead tired and so ready for me to save them from D-Rob. So he gets after it with those guys, but they know he's there to make them great. And a lot of people ask, like, man, that's great that D-Rob's over there. Well, he's been at FBA since 2012. So when we talk about buying in and building the program, he and I both have our own kids here at the school, in the elementary school. So we've been at it for a while, and it's fun to see all the work start to pay off.
Wow, that is just awesome to have like y'all's kids together. Wow, that's awesome. So, y'all's program, I know y'all a couple years back, or more than a couple, y'all's school moved locations, and that was kind of a big part in y'all just like transitioning and really like, okay, like this football program is going to be good. What were just some like, describe what went with that and just like the small things y'all had to learn as that happened and just y'all's program got bigger and bigger?
Yeah, so our school since 2017 has doubled in enrollment size. So the school used to be in downtown Dallas, and we had an athletic complex out here in East Dallas. And in 2017, we moved the whole school out here, built a new building, and had just several very generous families that helped us build this building out here. That was our academic building. And then a family that had been at the school for a long time came in and said, hey, we want to recreate the baseball, softball facilities. And so they did that and were extremely generous to help us have brand new baseball, softball facilities. And then a couple of years later, they came and said, hey, we want to do that for the football field and the track. So our facilities, people come out here and are shocked to see a TAPS Division IV school with the facilities that we have. But it's been awesome to see. God bless our efforts on coming out here and saying, like I said, we want to be a football program, an athletic program that glorifies the Lord, but that goes school-wide in everything that we do. So it really has been great to see the Lord's hand on our school and see us come out here and enrollment grow and double in size. And then, yeah, obviously that's been great for the athletic program because we've been by far one of the smallest schools in 11-man football in the state. And we still are one of those smaller schools, but this year our football team, I think we had 36 on the roster, and we've been used to 18 to 22 on the roster. So the growth definitely helped school-wise, athletics, and then football for sure.
Yeah, wow, that's just awesome to hear. And y'all are still, like you said, one of the smallest schools in Division IV, which is just mind-blowing with all of the success that y'all have. So moving on to next season, obviously defending state champions, y'all are going to be one of the favorites. I remember talking to some of y'all's coaching staff at state, and they talked about how young y'all's defense was and how that's going to be really the thing to watch for next year. What is going to be the key to that, and how good is y'all's defense going to be next year?
Yeah, so everybody I know talked about how explosive our offense was this past year, and probably underrated how good our defense was even this past season. And we are losing a couple guys, Abuchi Godwin, Kirk Gillespie. We're both defensive starters for us, but we've got everybody else coming back. And that's a fun thing to see how they grew from the 5 and 6 year. And so many of them, we would look out and just have teams just running over us and would say, well, look, we've got like 8 freshmen on the field. So we knew that it was going to be a lot better when they were sophomores and juniors. So if we can make that same jump as they go up as juniors and seniors, I think the sky's the limit for our defense. So that our offense will still have a lot of weapons, a lot of firepower, but the defense will probably be the strength of our team this next year just because we've got so much talent coming back. So one thing defensively, Coach Hill, Tyler Hill is our head baseball coach, and then also our defensive coordinator. And he's the one that is up in the box. So he's probably one that was talking about that defense coming back. But he and I work really well together on the game plan and just our defensive philosophy. But what we do defensively is much different than most people. We just man up, load the box, and try to make sure we stop the run and challenge them and challenge our defensive backs and put them on an island. So they really have to be tough as defenders, but tough mentally because they are all by themselves, one-on-one, over and over throughout the game. But going through a year of that, I think they're just going to be better next year.
Yeah, 100%. That's going to be great to see just how much better y'all's defense is going to be, even though it was already so great next year. So you're one of the coaches known for developing quarterbacks, and we talked about Hunter Mccoy and how great he was last year. How are y'all going to go about replacing him or just finding y'all's next quarterback, and what is that going to look like next season?
Yeah, it's going to be fun. We'll for sure have a wide open competition. One thing I've done in the past, we didn't do this year, but our centers can snap it diagonally, not just straight back. So we've had times where we've had two quarterbacks on the field at the same time. They're both lined up behind the tackles, and the center can snap it to either one of them. So there could be some of that. I don't know if that'll be our base offense, but we'll be able to use several quarterbacks out there. It's always good to have multiple guys that can do things. But Dylan Jones was a starting receiver for us this past year, and he's been a quarterback, and we've been developing him. George Anagnostis also was a starting middle linebacker for us, and he also has been in the system for a long time. And both of those guys were a part of those middle school teams that I talked about. So it's a lot of fun to work with these guys, really from elementary school all through middle school and on up. And then we also have a guy, Quincy Reams, who just came over from Bishop Dunn. He was at Bishop Dunn, and he's a junior right now. So he's also going to be in the quarterback competition. So yeah, those are the three right now. And then because of the success Hunter McCoy has had, I know there have been people that have reached out, but we're really excited about the three that we've got on campus right now, and it's going to be a great competition for all three. But I tell them, and the good thing with all three, they're all three. They can play multiple positions, and they're in it to help the team be successful. And I've had conversations with all of them, and they're all, hey, whatever it's going to take to do to win. And then I've told them, no matter what, I love developing quarterbacks. So I'll be continuing to work with them, and I want all of them to play at the next level.
Yes, wow, that's awesome. Can't wait to see that storyline play out and to see who y'all's quarterback's going to be next year. So yeah, I'm just going to leave you with one last question. We've kind of already talked about quarterback position, y'all's defense next year. Who else are you looking for to step up next year, and just what are you excited for about next season?
Yeah, well, let's see, I'm going to look at a list. So we've got some offensive linemen coming back. Rocky Angeles has been a starter for us for multiple years. Jared Castillo, Adrian Navarro, they all started for us on the offensive line all season. So we're losing a couple seniors from there. But then Mark Rayson is one guy who it has been fun to show colleges of all levels. I mean, we've had a lot of Power 5 schools coming through just in the past week, and we put Mark Rayson's highlight films on, and we're all just trying to figure out, are they going to want to recruit him as a running back or as a linebacker safety? Because he can do it all. So he's 6 foot, 200 pounds, and we throw the ball so much that I think sometimes people overlook him as a running back. But he had over 10 yards of carry, had an unbelievable season, but he's going to be one definitely to look out for. And then Ethan Hale is a returning kicker, and he was awesome just because he's so reliable. Yeah, we scored a lot this season, but being able to not have to come up with a 2-point play every single time we scored, he goes out there and was just automatic on extra points. Corey Thomas is also, he's already got offers from Arizona State and North Texas. He's a nose guard defensive tackle for us that just dominates the middle. So having a guy like him and then George Anagnostis in the middle makes it so hard for people to run on us. And then with the speed that we've got, they have a choice, either try to run into Corey, who's a Power 5 defensive tackle, or try to run to the outside against our speed. So, and then I think you mentioned Caleb Mitchell, Dominic Seydu. They're very highly recruited receivers that we've got, and so they'll be coming back. Some other guys, these are my nephews, Hardin Brown and Tucker Brown, I think they combined for 12 interceptions this year. So they're defensive backs, and they're going to be returning. And then Micah Foster, who had an amazing state championship game, is a starter defensive back. He was a team captain for us as a sophomore. Manuel DeLuna, he battled some injuries, but he's another receiver that we've got. And then a couple freshmen that also battled injuries, KJ Sykes, Zacchaeus Wapskini. They're stud receivers too. So people are going to see these guys and be like, where did they come from? They've been here. They just battled some injuries this year. And then we've got Joseph Martinez and Jackson Batista, who are two guys that are outside linebackers for us who are returning. And then Camp Pugh and Mark Gutierrez were defensive ends for us. And Camp Pugh is also, he's probably going to be recruited at the next level as a punter. And people, I apologize to him because he didn't get any all-district, any all-state honors because we didn't really punt this year. So when we were talking in the meeting, I'm like, this guy is a really good punter, but we didn't punt very much. So they said, nah, we never saw him punt except pregame. So, yeah, those are some of our guys. I want to make sure I didn't leave anybody out. I know I listed a lot. We've got a couple freshmen that did a great job in their role this year. Beckett Vaughn, Daniel Matthews were very good players for us. Edward Gutierrez, and those guys will all be back. But with as much depth as we had, they would be able to get in, but it was just later in the game. But they're going to be people to watch for sure. So I think I covered everybody. I know that's a long list, but just going through that gets me excited because we know we're losing Hunter, AC, Jackson Shanley, Greg Ortiz, and Abuchi. But besides those guys, we had so many guys who are coming back, and they're working hard. So it's time for them. I tell them, okay, y'all got to celebrate in December, Christmas break, but it's time to get back to work. So yes. That's what we're doing.
Wow. I mean, talk about a loaded roster. Y'all's offense is going to be clicking. Y'all's defense is going to leave opposing offenses in between a rock and a hard place. There's not really a right answer when it comes to y'all. But, yeah, can't wait to watch y'all develop next season. And good luck as y'all try and defend your state championship. Thank you for your time, Coach.
Thank you very much. Thanks for all you guys do. Y'all are awesome.
Thank you.